I want to start by acknowledging what it takes to get a facility like this open. It starts with a vision and a dream, and then a whole lot of time, energy, and effort by a lot of people. So where we'll start with this is with Judge Paul Poppe. One of the things that if you're in a city or a county, it takes money. And Judge Poppe was able to secure some FEMA shelter money, I guess you would say, from the General Land Office for the entire county. Smithfield was able to build their shelter/recreation center with a part of that grant. Elgin, about 2 weeks ago, I believe, opened their shelter with that grant. Today, the city of Bastrop is opening the third of what will be 4 shelters, and then the county will be opening their shelter hopefully in the next 24 months so that we can, as a part of that grant, I believe, have something close to 300, 400 beds in shelter facilities in the county, which is tremendous given our unfortunate history of needing them. My hope is that Murphy will leave us alone, because now we have shelters, and my hope is now that we're prepared, we just won't need them. And so if that's the case, then our seniors will be very happy utilizing this building in perpetuity. So once funding was established and the city council at the time made the determination as to what this building was going to be, I want to acknowledge Trey Jobe. He is our Managing Director of Public Works and Leisure Services. Where's Trey? Right there in front of me, thank you. Trey has served as project manager, and project manager means whatever you need it to be. Sometimes it's architect, sometimes it's engineer, sometimes it's inspector, sometimes it is interior designer, sometimes it is the actual construction worker that goes in and shows them how to do it correctly. So we're very blessed that Trey can be all of that in one, and it has been a challenge to get this building built, as you can appreciate. So I want to start with that. We appreciate the General Land Office as well as the Housing and Urban Affairs Department, known as HUD, for the grant funding. Langford and Associates is the grant administrator. They manage not only the county's grants, but the city's. And for those of you not familiar with government financing, you have to sign over your firstborn, your house, and the next 6 cars you buy. So we are grateful that Langford and Associates keeps us organized and in good standing with all of our government partners. Mervyn Fatter with Fatter and Evans Architects were the designers of this building. North Star Construction served as the prime contractor. And I want to acknowledge a number of subcontractors, because if you know them, I want you to say thank you for contributing to the future of Bastrop. And that's, I think it's Crete Heating and Air, National Stain Concrete, A&G Electric, JM Electronic Engineering, Carnival Custom Painting, Joe King Masonry, New Technology Insulation, Walker Plumbing, QA Construction Services, Telez Construction, McCurdy Construction, San Antonio Floor Finishers, Capital Blinds Drapery, Young Tile Services, B&T Glass and Mirror, Alamo Door Systems of Texas, Travis Painting and Excavation. We're also blessed to have a number of specialties in-house that assisted with this. Our own Parks Department was in charge of the landscaping outside. We're blessed to have some of the best electricians in the state, in my opinion, with Bastrop Power and Light. We've got a number of other people in our Public Works Department that had a role, and that includes Cheryl Renfro. Where is Cheryl? She hates being in the spotlight, but I'm going to make her stand out here, because Cheryl keeps not only Trey Joe, but Curtis Irvin in the middle of the road and in their lanes, and that is a tough task every day of the week. So let's thank Cheryl for all of that, and she helped organize today's festivity. Curtis Hancock is our Assistant Public Works Director. Curtis, raise your hand. He is awesome, and he backfills Trey when it's needed. Our seniors, because they are also partners in this building, and Barbara's going to speak in just a few minutes and explain their role in all of this, but they have taken an ownership position from day one. And when I walked through the building, I am technically, by virtue of the city manager, the owner. And so I was walking through and I was asking some questions of the contractor, and he didn't seem to grasp who I was and kept kind of pushing back and telling me I couldn't have something. So Chief Altgeld said, I don't think you understand, sir. She is the owner. And he goes, well, who's the other lady that I've been dealing with that was the owner? Well, that was Barbara Atkins. And I said, yep, she's co-owner. She's co-owner. So if she walks through here and points and tells you to do something, all you need to do is just say, yes, ma'am. And he looked at me and said, well, yes, ma'am. I said, you got it, Moy. And then I want to say thank you to Chief James Altgeld, who is also going to be speaking in a few minutes. He was instrumental in making sure that from a shelter perspective, Mickey Duvall and the library staff are actually the department in our city that will operate this. But James has a vested interest because not only is he our director of public safety, but he also serves as our emergency management coordinator. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who's over it, the buck stops with James. And so he took a real vested interest in this building as well. So with that long list, it really took a village to get us to this point. So let's give all of them a round of applause for a job well done. Before I turn this over to Judge Poppy, I want to just kind of take you on a little journey. Part of accepting grant funding from a government organization is to read the fine print, the asterisks. And so HUD gives you money for a shelter. What HUD doesn't do is give you money for anything required to run the shelter. So their perspective is that if it is not permanently attached, they don't fund it. So we got about 3/4 of the way in this project before we realized that we were going to be challenged, not only to staff it, but to have the necessary equipment that we needed. And so Trey and I got to talking about the shelter and when would we need a shelter. And it's very easy for us to appreciate and understand that if life is not going well for us in Bastrop County, that we're an obvious we're an obvious customer of this shelter. So we would provide shelter for those in Bastrop or Bastrop County that needed it. And all of our citizens would appreciate and understand that we had to close the library to do that because our library staff runs this building. But then we got to talking about it and thinking about it, and there are 3 people that are designated to open this shelter. Judge Poppy, as the county judge, is the first one. The governor of this state is the second one, and the president is the third one. Well, that's a pretty broad spectrum of who has authority to open this shelter and for whatever they determine is a disaster. So we got to processing that and thinking, we might be mandated to open this shelter and the sun's shining here in Bastrop County and life's going well for us here in Bastrop County, and it wouldn't be appropriate for us to close the library and everybody go, why are you closing the library? Nothing's going on in Bastrop County. So we realized very early that we needed some partners. And the Bastrop seniors were the first to come to mind. They provide someone to own and occupy this building and love it like their own when it's not a shelter, but they also provide us necessary manpower to augment our staff when the library still has to run the library. And so we are very, very excited about that, and Barbara's going to talk more about that partnership. And then James, when he speaks, is also going to talk about the partnership that we're building not only with the judge and the county, but with our other regional partners here in the county. So it's going to be a great story, and I don't want to steal the judge or the mayor or chief's story along with Barbara's. So at this point in time, Judge, I'm going to turn it over to you to let you continue to connect the dots.
Thank you so much, Linda. Give me a hug.
Oh, yes.
As you know, I'm a hugger. Well, we do welcome you here this morning. I can see that with Linda's leadership, my job is to stay out of the way and to just support her and her staff here as they put this great building into service. If you think about it historically, it's not often that something this good comes out of something as bad as the 2011 complex fire. Our community was on its heels after that devastating event. The city stepped up immediately and opened up their brand new convention center to be our incident command center. And we took it over front door to back door and side to side. And it was called on for over a month for those purposes. So we have been a partner with the city from the very beginning in responding to disasters here in Bastrop County. Following that one, we've had 4 floods, all federally declared disasters in the county, and then of course Hurricane Harvey last fall. So we've had more than our share, and I agree with Linda that it's maybe we'll go another decade or 2 without having to have another one, however long it is. There will be others, and this building will be here ready to serve the public. It takes a partnership. It takes vision and courage. There were some fits and some starts with this one, but I'll have to tell you that once Ms. Humble got to Bastrop, things began to get done, and the path got clearer and straighter and more level under her leadership, and I'm grateful for that, Linda. I don't think I've ever been mentioned in a sentence with the governor and the president before, so I'll have to think some about that, and I will tell my wife what you said, so maybe I'll get a more respect around the house. But the point is that we will only use this building if we absolutely have to for disaster recovery, along with the one in Smithfield, which has been so handy to us, Robert. We thank you again for Smithfield's vision 15, 20 years ago now to build that recreation center. The funding that we were able to pass through came to us because after that 2011 complex event, HUD came to us and said, we don't want Bastrop County to have to suffer the way it suffered after such a huge disaster. What can we do to help you be better prepared? What can we do to make you more resilient and prevent perhaps some of these disasters? Well, we said prevention means doing fuel mitigation, and we're engaged in an exhaustive 4,000-acre program of removing the fuels from the forest floor so that it won't wick the flame up into the canopy and therefore destroy the trees. But when it comes to recovery, we needed more shelter space. And so Smithfield and Elgin and Bastrop came to mind, and we said, why don't we share some of those resources that HUD has made available to the county with our municipal partners? And that's the seed that developed into this wonderful product here. So again, I just want to say thank you for being here. Thank you for caring about it all. We will continue to be partners in the planning and the operations of this facility, and it will benefit the public. So a very good thing has come out of a very bad thing, and we thank you, Linda, for that. Thank you.
At this time, I'd like Mayor Schrader to come forward and speak on behalf of the city.
Good morning. It's great to see everybody out this morning. Linda's covered a lot of ground, and so has the judge. But I know my role within the emergency management. We've had conversations about it's hard to imagine an emergency that would happen inside the city limits that wouldn't be within the county. And then I decided I needed to quit thinking about those possibilities because I don't want any of those to come true. When I see these cots, you can't help but pray for the blessings of the person who's thrilled to see that cot. I hope that we never need them, but the reality is, as Linda pointed out, it could be someone inside of Bastrop County. It could be somebody that's a citizen of the state of Texas or any other state. And the day that you walk in and see this cot, that blanket, those toiletries, and a pillow, and think that you've reached utopia, that's when we know we've done exactly the right thing. And we talked about partnerships. We're thrilled to have such a great partnership with the county, but I also want to specifically acknowledge Robert from the city of Smithville. He has got tremendous experience, probably experience he would some rather not have with running a shelter. So it was a thrill for me to walk around with him and hear him say, "Oh, good, you took care of that. Oh, good, you took care of that. Oh, good, you thought of that." Now, he did ask me, "What are you going to do about pets?" and told me a story about a missing tarantula. So apparently we've got some additional discussions to have. But it is just a testimony to what we can do when we all work together, whether it's the cities working together and combining our experience so that all of the shelters run smoother, whether it's our relationship with the county, whether it's depending on the state and GLO, or if it's just the mere fact that we have a great organization like the Senior Center that would come forward. When you walk around, you'll see in each of the rooms that there are two things written on the sign. One of my favorite rooms is the quilting room, and if you have to promise if you've come in that you'll take time to walk around to all of the rooms. They'll do their quilting in it, and then on the other side of the room, there's crayons, there's a mat, there's some cars, because that's where they're going to entertain the kids if it's a shelter. There's a TV on the wall so they can watch a cartoon or something. So the thought that has gone into each and every part of this building, and to be able to utilize it both for our seniors and maximize that community, it thrills my heart that we come to the north part of Bastrop and there's a brand new building and there's a whole bunch of cars around it. And I think that's great for the park. I think that's great for the community. And I'm just thrilled that this partnership is going to do something that hopefully our citizens don't have to ever use, but so happy that we have the comfort of that. So I would encourage you to please be sure you walk around, and yes, it's okay to open the doors and look in, and yes, there really is a washer and dryer, and yes, we've tried to think of all the different things. But I would also personally appreciate it if you would just say a quick little prayer for every person who's ever going to lay on a cot. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. That's a moment to remind us really why we're here. At this point in time, I want to introduce Barbara Atkins to come forward and speak on behalf of the Senior Center. I tell you what, I love this lady, seriously. It is awesome to work with somebody that's got a can-do, let's figure it out, let's get it done spirit. And Barbara comes in the door with that attitude. She has been able to work through a number of very sticky situations that weren't sticky when she got done with it. And that's a testament to just the way she manages business and those around her that don't even recognize they're being managed, me included. And that's a real testament to talent. So we love Barbara.
Thank you all so much. This has just really been a great day for me. This is such a blessing for us. I had the opportunity to meet Linda when she first came here, and we were able to talk about the seniors, talk about the center. We were outgrowing that place. What could we do? How could we work together? We have a lot of our seniors who are active in the community, and we wanted to partner. This is what we wanted to do. And so we put our thinking caps on, and unfortunately, while our thinking caps were being tightened up here, we had Hurricane Harvey. And so Linda came and said, I think we may have a solution. So I gathered the board together and we met with Linda and saw the diagrams. And as soon as I saw the architectural plans, I said, where do I sign? We're right ready to go to do. Then I had to go back and tell the seniors, and they're going, oh my gosh, you think we can do this? And we went, yes, we can. And Linda's right. I did come in and I did look at every step of the way to make sure that the city got what they wanted, but that it wasn't going to be harmful when the seniors were in here, or others as well. So we're really excited about it. We like the idea of partnering when this needs to be a shelter, and we all hope it never happens again. We know that we are here. We have volunteered. We will be ambassadors so that the library can continue to function, the city can continue to function during the day. And we will be here greeting people helping with wherever we need to. And as Linda's told us before, we're grandparents, so we know how it is to give somebody a hug and a kiss and kind of calm their fears. I also like the idea that there's a park right out in front of us, so when kids get here, they have some place to go and some place that they can think somewhere else. Thank you all so much.
I also want to acknowledge Council Member Bill Peterson, who has come in the back. Thank you, sir. We appreciate you. At this point in time, I want to introduce Chief James Altgeld, who serves not only as our Director of Public Safety, but as our Emergency Management Coordinator, to kind of give you an overview of how this fits into our emergency management plan as a shelter and the level of preparedness I hope you take as much pride in as we do being prepared. So, Chief?
Good morning and welcome all. I want to start off with something that was said when we were doing our Hurricane Harvey debriefing. And Director Trey Jobe pointed out that before the fire department and the police department could go out and save the world and take all the credit and all the accolades, Public Works had to go out there and clear the streets, and so did Bastrop Power and Light. And nobody throws parades for them, and they're really the true first responders, because we stay where it's safe until it's okay for us to get in our cars and drive and then claim victory and save the day. And that really gave me a moment of pause and made me think. But then, and Trey is completely correct, that they are truly an amazing resource that we have. But some of the unsung heroes that go on long after the rain stops falling and the fire stop burning are the people that run the shelters. And very rarely do you hear any positive accolades or do they get the acknowledgement and the recognition that they deserve. And I will tell you that while I was not here during the complex fires, talking to Mickey Duvall, who's our Director of Library and head of our shelter plan, and his staff did an amazing job. And the awesome responsibility that they have to take care and to continue and to sustain those operations is just amazing. And so Mickey, you and your staff deserve tremendous accolades for what you do, what you pledge to do, and continue to do. When we got ready to open the shelter, we said, well, who's in the shelter business in the county doing a great job? And it was Smithville. And we've had 2 different regional meetings that say, well, rather than reinvent the wheel, let's see what Smithville does. Let's learn their lessons, take their advice and go from there. And one of the things that came out of that is a coalition that we hope that with manpower and how important it is to take care of people that are displaced, whether they're our own citizens from our community, or if they're other fellow Texans, or if, gosh forbid, they come from another state, that we provide the best services. And in order to sustain that, we're looking towards a team that perhaps if it's the shelter in Elgin that gets open, that the city of Bastrop steps up and goes and helps supports Elgin, and the city of Smithville does that, and we all reciprocate. And when the county shelter is open, we do the same thing. So I'm at an emergency management course right now, and we talk about how big is big and how bad is bad, and partnerships. And when I discussed some of the plans that we have, you would think that we invented electricity, because a lot of people are writing notes saying they're going to go back. So I appreciate the city of Smithville, the county judge, Chief South and Elgin, who's the emergency management coordinator for them, and everybody's willingness to work together. Preparedness is real important, and up until we were here today, when something happened and we were going to have to shelter people, we relied on most of our churches. United Methodist Church has stepped up huge, but the other part of the component was the American Red Cross coming in to give us cots and to give us blankets and to have the equipment that we need to sustain. And while I always know that you can rely on the American Red Cross, the day may come that they can't get here because highways are flooded or because resources are being spread through. And so now, while I hope this never has to happen, I sleep better knowing that we have a facility that we can open up and we have those resources here immediately disposable or usable, excuse me, and that's a comfort. We've done a lot of training get up to this point, and we're going to continue doing training. Where you're standing right now is a dormitory. The FEMA rules require that there's 40 square foot for each resident that stays in our shelter. And this is a little over 2,000 feet, so if you do the math, that means we're authorized to hold 50 people or 50 residents when the shelter is open. So serving the dual purpose is nice because you'll know if the air conditioning's working, if the lighting's working, if the heating's working, and it's not a dormant building that doesn't sit still. So having the use of the building is a tremendous resource for us. What we plan to do, though, and why we hope it never happens, preparedness is important, and getting the facility and stocking the facility is only half the battle. The other part is knowing what to do when the time comes that we have to open. So twice a year, what we will do is we will do tabletop exercises, and we'll talk about the documentation that has to be taken and what we have to do and what are the processes and who's going to cover that process. And oh, well, Bob was going to do that process, but Bob retired, so we need to backfill Bob's position so that we don't have those problems. So twice a year, we'll do those types of exercises. And then twice a year, what we're going to do is we're actually going to physically open the shelter, and we're going to break out cots, and we're going to set it up, and we're going to make sure that we have the plan. So while we hope we never have to utilize that, when the time comes, we're prepared, and while we'll have the oh gosh factor that we got the call or that something happened, there'll be a moment of calmness afterwards because it won't be our first rodeo, and we'll have done that before. I think that's the ultimate thing that you want to strive for in anything that goes on. So I can tell you, with the mayor being our emergency management director and Ms. Humble being our city manager, and with me having the opportunity and the proud ability to be the emergency management coordinator, I promise you that we will be prepared. We will treat this. We want the shelter to be just as nice as if my mom and dad were coming here, because that's what people deserve when they're displaced. So I want to thank everybody that made this possible, but not to be a killjoy. That's only half the battle. Now the rest comes as training, getting everybody up there. Once again, Mickey, thank you so much for your time and your help, for helping us, telling us what we need, what the quantity is. It's a great journey. It's not one person, and I appreciate the teamwork from Mickey, from Trey, from the county, and from everybody here. Thank you.
So at this point in time, I believe it is ribbon cutting time. Ms. Womble, where are we going to do that since it's hot?
Okay, everybody on the count of three. 1, 2, 3.